This is not a test. Stay calm in an orderly fashion. Make your way to the lifeboats.
Mayday, the ship is sinking.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Wednesday podcast of Lifeboat Addiction Recovery Cast. My name is Christian.
And my name is Hunter.
And as you know, on every Wednesday, we talk about the meditations, some deeper subjects, generally what's going on with us, what we're seeing, how we're feeling, just a little bit of everything. This last Monday, if you listen to it, we are talking about, I believe we're going over brain chemistry and all that kind of stuff. But this upcoming Friday is I believe, talk to Tori Worth, and then we're starting into our next series on ACEs and motivational interviewing and all that kind of stuff. So definitely stay tuned for that. But with that being said, Hunter, it's a long week.
It has been a long week.
How's your how is your week? What's going on with you, man?
It's been good, and it's been long though. It's like it kind of has its ups and downs. I continue to talk about balance and how I'm starting to achieve that balance, and things are starting to really start to come together. But on the other flip side of that coin is when there's a lot to balance, sometimes it gets a little bit heavy. You know what I'm saying? So I guess it's a matter of working through that at this point. You know what I'm saying? But it's been a week. Been a week.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, man. It's times like this that first, I think it's important for you to be cognizant of and completely aware of burnout, burnout and what it looks like. Because I'm feeling that, man. I'm up against it. A lot of deadlines, a lot of things going on, all good things, all things to be excited about. But it's just, you get short with people, and it's not fair to those people, because that's all self stuff. That's not, what they're doing. Even if they're doing something that may frustrate you or anger you, or you're doing something that you're just like, hey, don't do that. That's not right.
Right.
It's still like, you got to manage your own stuff. What do they say? You got to sweep your own front porch. So that's right where I'm at, man, is I got to keep that in kind of my front view.
Right. So an example of that, actually, last Friday, I had kind of a stressful day. I talked to you about it because I was like, don't know if I was out of line in this, but like I was pretty like, I'm like, what is going on right now? So with that, I went home that night, and I was feeling better. Like I don't think about work when I'm at home usually, but I was still like, obviously I had a stress day, so I was in the best mood. And then my sister gets home, and she was asking me about something, like kind of giving me a hard time, because it was something that I should have cleaned up that I didn't clean up. I had some dishes laying around. And I kind of ended up just like, leave me alone, like I'll do it when I do it, and I probably not quite that nice. Yeah.
Probably wasn't that nice. I'm using clean language for the children out there.
I didn't blow my top. I didn't like completely freak out, but still, and she had a bad day as well. And then it ended up being my mom called me, just kind of check and see how I've been doing. She's like, well, I'm going to let you and your sister complain at each other. And I was like, what do you mean? Because I thought my sister told her that we got in a little bit of a heated debate there, argument.
Yeah.
But, and she said, no, you guys both had a terrible day at work, or not terrible, but stressful day at work. So I figured you guys just complained to each other, and it clicked at that point. I was like, man, I just let my bad day at work go out at someone who had nothing to do with it.
Dude, isn't that the truth? And it's so difficult. It's so hard, especially, I've got a baby now, which means that he sleeps a lot. He never is sleeping when I'm sleeping, though. When I'm sleeping or when I want to sleep, he's up and very awake, right? So so everything going on at work plus lack of sleep, and I get to that point where it's like you want to pop your top, like you said. I think it's very apt description, and you want to call out the little things that you normally would just shrug off. Because here's the thing: do things happen? Sure. Are people in the wrong sometimes? Yeah. Do people do things sometimes that are like justifiably like, really? Right. What are you doing? That's unethical. That's against the law, or you're lying or whatever. Right. Sure. But it's like, why? I think ultimately it comes down to, why am I letting it affect my serenity? Why am I letting it affect me? And man, I have seen too many avalanches where it's just like thing after thing after thing after thing. And then the next guy comes in and be like, hey, good morning. I'm like, go die. Like, right? Where it's like, you have no place in my world.
You just throw the clock at him.
Right. You're just like, your happiness brings me great frustration and suffering.
Yeah. That's honestly a point where I can tell, like, okay, Hunter, you need a rest. You know what I'm saying? You need to step back a bit and just take some time for you, because like I'm an extremely easygoing person.
Sure.
Always have been. Well, since I've been clean. When you're on meth, no one's really easygoing.
There's not easygoing.
Right.
There's either on or off.
Right. It's like I've been up for 5 days. I don't know what's real at this point.
Are you real? Just found out my best friend of 6 years. Part of my imagination.
Right.
Yeah, doesn't exist. Real Tyler Durden thing going on.
But so yeah, I mean, I know when things start to bother me like that, because really, like, there is very little that actually like gets under my skin that's on the external. Like, mostly anything that bothers me is when I identify an internal thing within myself that needs to change. And it's not really bothers me. It bothers me when I don't change that thing. I'll say that's the only time where I notice like I start to get a certain emotion about something. But usually, like, external things really do not have much of an effect on me. Like, people can say things to me, someone could probably rob my house while I was at work, and I probably wouldn't be that upset about it. I would call the cops.
You're frustrated. Yeah, you'd follow it out, but
I wouldn't like lose my mind over it. That's how easygoing I am, for instance. Okay, but like when little things like my dog peed on the floor, you know what I'm saying, or something like that while I was at work because he had to go to the bathroom or something, and that really bothers me. It's like, then I know, like, okay, something's going on that's not this, because this isn't bothering me. I feel like there's a really important identification piece there. Like, when stuff's bothering me, it's important for me to identify, like, that's not what's bothering you. There's other stuff bothering you, and this is an easy target right now. This is what you've seen that you decided to take your frustration on because it's safe.
yes.
You know what I'm saying?
No, yeah, and I couldn't agree more, man. When you get into that Warhawk mode, you get into the like seeing red, Hulk mad.
Mm-hmm.
You usually aim for the most defenseless thing around you. And I'm not saying like you're gonna go punch babies or anything, but I do think like you aim for the low hanging fruit. You aim for those who are like, they're just trying to help. They're just trying to be present and just snipping at people. And man. And I think, honestly, I mean, you know probably better than most. You see the amount of work that we have on our plates. You see all the work that we're doing, and it's exciting and it's energizing. And there's a lot of really cool things going on. But it's just like, can we not talk about another thing? Can we focus on the 30 things that are in front of us? Can we not talk about another thing right now? Like, and that's been kind of, at least I know for me, I don't know for you, but that's been like the modum operandi for the last like month and a half of like, we have so much going on. Stop adding more things. I have to sacrifice sleep to do this. Like, and I already have a baby, so this is difficult. Right.
You're like, oh, you want to add another program? How
about no?
So, I mean, absolutely.
By the way, Hunter just watched Austin Powers for the first time a few months ago.
That was like 6 months ago. Come on.
Few months ago.
Laser.
So that's like, so him quoting 90s and early 2000s references. I made him watch, I made you watch all of Austin Powers.
Yes.
All of Bill and Ted's Most Excellent Adventure.
Yes.
So that we could watch the third one. And I said, it's unacceptable. We will not watch the third Bill and Ted's Most Excellent Adventure, which is like, not great. Keanu Reeves, fantastic.
I was at his house until like 12. I think it was like 12:30 on a work night.
I was like, you will watch the first two before you watch this one. But we have been quoting it quite a bit. Like excellent. Or there's trouble afoot at the Circle K.
Strange things afoot, I believe.
Strange things. But we watched that. We watched the
Pick of Destiny movie.
Pick of Destiny, Tenacious D, Pick of Destiny, which. Don't give me that.
That was a good movie.
That was
enjoyable.
Jack Black at his finest. Just to be clear, Hunter, what did you think of Monty Python and the Holy Grail? What did you think of that?
Okay, so my experience with Monty Python was that it was an experience that I do not want to replicate. You feel me? Like, I'm glad I watched it.
Leave your reviews below.
Yeah.
Comment and leave your reviews about Hunter's what he thinks about movies below.
But don't review the podcast based off my movie experience. Just
I'd give this podcast 4.5 stars. I don't even give it 1 star because he doesn't know good cinematography.
So yeah, Monty Python, I enjoyed watching it, as in like now I can
He didn't
say
enjoy watching it. He talked halfway through it and
Right.
complained
now
a lot.
I have seen the movie and I could say that I've seen it, and I can talk about how a swallow can't carry a coconut. I guess I can say that,
Mhm.
I can give
Yeah.
some math behind that, just in case anyone's ever like, actually this coconut was carried here by a swallow. I can say, a swallow cannot possibly carry a coconut.
African or a European swallow.
Yeah.
African swallow may be, but not a European swallow. That's my point.
Yeah, something like that.
So, but I think we're talking, we're getting into the realm of insanity. That's how burnt out we are. But we are getting into that place where it's like, when you're burned out, what do you do, man? Because we've talked a lot. We've talked a lot about like avoiding burnout. You got to avoid burnout at all costs. But it's like, guess what? Even when you're aware of trying to avoid burnout, what do you do when you're actually there?
So I'll say this: I don't think that. I don't think that I'm at burnout. I don't think I'm at burnout. I've definitely been at burnout before, and like that was the point I was like ready to quit my job and
I'm not there.
move back to Iowa. Like literally, we had a conversation. I had applied for other jobs. We had this conversation because I was not practicing self-care. So now is the point in my life that I'm seeing this, and it's like, take some time, relax, like whatever it takes, practice self-care. Like I'm still going to the gym. I'm still going to my meetings. I'm still doing my Bible studies. I'm still going to my church. I'm still talking to my friends. I'm still doing the things that I need to do in order to be okay. And it's just like work is a lot right now. And that's okay. As long as I'm still maintaining all my stuff, I know that I'm good, and I may have to implement a little bit more.
Sure.
I may have to, I don't know, to take an hour-long shower tomorrow. I don't know, like just chill.
That sounds so nice.
Doesn't it?
Oh my gosh, that sounds so nice, dude.
Yeah.
No, I no, and I agree. I don't think I'm at like burnout of like cataclysmic level by any means, but I am at that point where it's like, can I just go into the wilderness and leave my phone, leave my phone in my car for a couple of days, just go to a lake and just stare at the lake and, relax, just being present, being disconnected from the constant bombarding river that is all of the things that we're doing, which is, it's so fun and it's so cool, like what we're doing. Do not get me wrong, but there's always that part of like, this is a passion project for both of us. We're doing this. And then when people have dissenting opinions, we got to check our ego at the door. And we were just having this conversation because, of a conversation that I was having. It's just like, I got to check my ego, man, because it's like, okay, am I angry because of what I've created as being criticized, or I'm angry because of something else? And honestly, I'm not sure. Like that's why I talk to people. I talk to people and say like, this is what I'm saying, and this is what I'm thinking. Am I wrong? And then I have to have a very honest and open conversation with the people that I'm trusting to be that external voice of like, am I wrong? And if they say, yeah, I think you're wrong, then I have to say, okay, why? I can't be like, okay, why? You're wrong. Why do I talk to you? You got a dumb face. Like, I can't be that way. I have to be open and receptive, and that's how I grow. But I'll tell you, man, when you have the lack of sleep and the amount of work that I've been doing over the last like week and a half, and then you're sitting there, it's like, I don't want to listen to anybody else's opinions other than my own in my own head. And that's dangerous. That's not going to work for anybody. So
kind of at the point of isolation almost.
Well, I'm not at that. Like, I still will go. I don't have the privilege of isolation.
No, I mean, okay, so I'll be very clear. When I say isolation, I don't mean like I can be surrounded by people and still isolated.
Oh, sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like at that point where I don't want to let the external voice in. I don't want to talk about what I'm dealing with to a certain degree. And that's what I mean by isolation. Not necessarily like physically being isolated, which is obviously a way isolation plays out, but just being emotionally isolated.
Well, and I think I'm fortunate enough that, the recovery tools that I've cultivated over a long enough period of time, people will know what I'm thinking. Like, I'm not gonna, there's no, Hunter will tell you, I mean, if you want to speak to it, there's no internal voice necessarily. Like, I'm not going to be like, well, I'm going to think all my own thoughts in my own head. Like, no. Like, they're going to be angry thoughts, but everybody's going to know. Right. Like, it won't be like, oh, he looks like he's mad about, it's like, no, he's mad about this. How do you know? Go ask him. He'll tell you. So it's definitely that. And, it's difficult because of where I'm at right now. I had to make some reconciliation even today with some people. And it's difficult to be able to have that level of humility and honesty, not only on like no sleep, but where you're still frustrated, not about what's in front of you, but about like the 6 other things that you got going on. So you're just like, I've wronged Hunter. and then there's like 30 other things going on, and there's like 10 other things that are pulling my attention, and then there's like 3 other things that I either got to reconcile for, and then there's like 2 other things that's like I'm legitimately angry about that,
Right.
and then I got to go reconcile the hunch and be like, dude, I spoke to you sideways today. You know, I shouldn't have spoke to you like that. You know, please forgive me. And meanwhile, in my head, I'm like, why are we talking about this? Like, just forgive me, or, you know, either say you forgive me, or I don't care. Hate me. I will gladly be, you know, your, I was about to say an enemy, but your enemy for the rest of your
Right.
life. So
I want to take this moment. So this is something I would do in my classes, and I think we can definitely do it right now. So we're feeling, you've asked me this question, like there's an emotion or a problem that we have identified, right? So the identified problem is kind of hitting a point to where burnout is down the road. Like,
Sure.
I'm not saying we're there, but like we're on the interstate and there's some exits, but if we don't take one of the exits, we're going off the side of the bridge that's supposed to be closed.
good.
Yeah.
I don't want there to be a river either. I want to be a deep ravine.
And that is how you end up at CMH Crisis Services, like that, son.
Yes, just like that.
So yeah, I mean, this is a question I asked my class. We've identified a problem. Now, what are the solutions?
That's a fair point. So solutions. So solutions are obviously getting my sleep more well regulated. That's a big one. I think that's like top tier.
So
for
how
sure.
do you do that?
Well, my wife and I have been able to have a conversation, especially after last night. You know, baby boy, we're just trying to regulate him. I mean, that's he is a baby. He's like 3 weeks old, and the big struggle is, you know, he at nighttime he doesn't really want to eat, or he does want to eat, but he just wants to fuss. But we found there is kind of an order of things that if he's in his mom's arms, he'll fall asleep like that. And then just a matter of like kind of walking, you got to be really quiet and let it, you know, play out. Like he can sleep during the day and we could be, you know, in the middle of a Metallica concert. Like he's out like a light, but at night you have to be fairly quiet and let him just be peaceful. So that's one thing. So we are implementing plans, and that's, you know, God bless my wife. She's too good for me for sure. Shut your mouth. No.
I'm over here
yeah.
yeah.
God bless her to death for the amount of crap she puts up with me. She looks at me and she's like, I don't understand how you got me, but well played. No, but she has through this entire process been an individual that is constantly on her feet, like not on her feet literally. I mean, she just got done being pregnant, but on her feet of mentally of like, okay, how do we alter this? Okay, how do we change this? Should we try something else? Should we try this? Should we try that? And then honestly taking a sincere and analytical look at every step that she's doing to say, okay, that didn't work, but this did. So we're going to add that. And because of that, boy is pretty well regulated. So that's going to be a big help, because we're trying something new tonight that I do think is actually going to work, and I'll be able to get a full night's sleep. So that's number one. I think is going to be a great source of energy and positivity.
Right.
The other part, it's difficult because I'm chairman of a board.
Mm-hmm.
I am on a board. I am director of a 501c3. I'm also the GM of a company and co-owner of a company. And I'm also the father to a new baby. So there is a lot of people that are about to go on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing, they need to go on vacation. They need to get their time away. It just is a must happen. You know, I have one of my other co-owners is about to go on vacation literally, I think tomorrow or in the next next day or two.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got a vacation set up in a couple of weeks where you're going to take a couple of days off or a couple of weeks off, go see some family, which I definitely think. I got my executive assistant who is also going to be taking some vacation time. So I need to plan out a vacation. Difficulty is I got a newborn.
Right.
So I got to take that into consideration. That's not a justification to say that I shouldn't go on vacation, and I just rhymed. You're welcome. But it is something that it's like, okay, how do I go about this, and what do I need to do here?
Right. So, and I mean, this would be my advice as well. Something to look at would be, what are your non-negotiables? You know what I'm saying? Something I use a lot in my class, and I think this is something a lot of our listeners should also take from this.
Beachfront property.
Not what I meant. So looking at our lives right now, you know, looking at your life, what are the things that are implemented in your life right now that are non-negotiable and have to be there? So I've talked to clients about that, like basically saying like, okay, meeting, like for me, I talked about church meetings, those things, those are non-negotiables in my life. Work, non-negotiable. Everything else in my life fits in.
Sure.
what I'm saying? So
Okay.
what does that look like for you?
So work's that's the difficulty. Work is not negotiable. It's like, but what's work, Christian?
40 hours a week, your job.
You mean 80 hours a week? You mean the ministries you're involved in?
Yeah.
What's work? The immediate part of me is like, no, nothing's not negotiable. Definitely work is the big one.
Mhm.
Because we have some big events coming up, Recovery Coach Academy, ethics, assert, all that kind of stuff. And here's the thing. I want to preface this before I go any further on the non-negotiable conversation. I've been to this place before,
Mhm.
and the only thing that normally gets me through it, so the things that have worked before in my past, because I think that's generally where you're going to go. I could be wrong.
That was the next steps.
I know things about stuff. Don't worry. No, the things that are non-negotiable, like the thing that gets me through it is having an end date.
Mhm.
That's honestly, so it's like knuckle down, get through it. And I have an end date.
Mhm.
I have an end date that is coming in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everybody in the car. So come on, let's try to. No. Okay. I have an end date in 1, 2, 3 weeks.
Okay.
Where it's like, I can legitimately just sit back, take a breath,
Right.
and not think about anything.
Even next week we have you were talking.
We have a
about
pretty laid off week. And I
Right.
designed that purposely for that. So we
Yeah.
could relax because of just everything going on.
right. Like life's crazy, So yeah, I mean, I think that's just really important when we're looking at like these problems, right? We're not just, I really dislike, and people really dislike me for this characteristic. I do not like talking about problems unless we're going to talk about a solution to said problems.
Agreed, dude.
Yeah, because it's like, I don't care about your problems unless you want to hear a solution to it. I do. Sometimes I'll actually ask people like, do you want me to speak into that, or do you want me just to listen?
Mhm.
Because sometimes, I mean, it's probably the peer recovery coach. If a client ever talks to me about a problem, my immediate follow-up question is going to be, what are we going to do to solve that?
Yep.
So I feel like it portrays my sister hates it. She'll come home, she'll be complaining about something at work or complaining about something going on or a bill or something. I'll be like,
Because
so,
people they want to be in the echo chamber.
Right.
I very rarely want to, I don't know if I ever brought you anything where it's like, I don't want a solution. I
Mhm.
want a damn solution. What am I going to do here? What do you think I should do here? And I listen, I receive it. I don't like, okay, well, that's a good idea. And I don't do anything. It's like, okay, you got a very fair point there. How am I going to, because we just had a conversation literally leading up to the filming of this podcast that resulted in that. I
Right.
mean, we were
Yeah.
talking about it while setting up, where it's just like, I don't know what I'm going to do here. I feel this way about it. This is what has taken place. Am I wrong here? I'm trying to see an external perspective. The situation that's going on. You are a part of the situation. How do I interact with it? And then ultimately it's resolved with like, well, you're clearly uncomfortable with it. You clearly are feeling a certain way about it. And then, the part of me is always like, well, am I feeling that way because I'm burnt out and I'm just projecting everything else going on into that, which, I think that's a fair assessment. But does it need to be addressed, and the people involved it needs to be addressed? And I think ultimately, yeah, it probably does.
Mhm.
I mean, so.
Yeah, ultimately needs addressed, but also like anything too is like deal with those emotions that you have towards that thing before we actually deal with the thing. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? I feel like that's super important. We're talking about really anything that requires any sort of conversation with another human being over an issue, unless it's like, if it's an immediate thing and there's a conversation that needs to take place to maintain safety, that's one thing. But if it's a conversation with another person, like a business partner or anything like that, it's like, as soon as we deal with the negative feelings that we're feeling because of that, any hurt, any spite, any resentments, anything like that, any little ego stabs or whatever it might be, once we deal with those things, then we bring it to a conversational point.
Sure.
Because I feel like, I mean, we talked about this, decisions made and emotions are rash decisions by nature.
Yep.
I feel like I felt like that for a long time. If I'm feeling a certain type of way, I'm not saying I don't make decisions when I'm not feeling angry or frustrated or talk to someone when I'm feeling that way, but I can say every time I do that, they usually do not go the way they're meant to go.
Yes, because you end up saying something out of emotion and out of rage and fuel instead of trying to rectify a situation. And that's, I think, ultimately, what I try to strive for. I try to strive for reconciliation where it can be had as best as possible. I mean, it may not look exactly the way that I would like it to look, but ultimately I would like reconciliation. But there's times where it's just like reconciling at what cost, or reconciling, like, what will reconciling actually do? Will it fix the overarching issue, or is it just going to fix an underlying problem for today? And then this problem is inevitably going to manifest itself later on. And that is kind of how I felt with this situation. I mean, I'm not going to say any,
Right. You're not going to give specifics.
Give me specifics, but it's ultimately that's where it's at is like, okay, this is somewhat of an ongoing issue. We've talked about this in different ways and shapes and forms before. And should I make a decision? It's two decisions. Either A, I can just wipe my hands of it, be done with it, leave it alone, and just kind of say, sorry, but not sorry. It's not a necessary part of my life right now. I enjoy doing this, but at the end of the day, it's just the craziness that comes along with it. I can't do. Or the other part of me, which is this is I guess the character trait part of me. And I told you this, which is just like, whether it be with this podcast, whether it be with the companies that I run or the ministries that I help run or whatever, it's like, do I triple down? Do I stick my nose in it and say, not only am I not going to let what just happened affect me, but furthermore, I'm going to make it so that I control it. I'm going to make it so that I take control of the situation and I turn it into a net positive, not only for me, but for everybody involved.
Right.
And that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, we've obviously had this conversation, but in general, I just finished a six different consecutive lessons on boundary management. So it's been an interesting, a couple weeks.
Oh, that hurt. It went wrong. The water went down the wrong pipe and it went up my nose a little bit because that was fin out. I just finished.
Yeah.
I know a lot about boundary management. Trust me. I've done 6 different lessons on it in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. So I'm an expert now. But so, I mean, but one thing we've been talking about is like that importance of reconciliation when we know a problem's still there is a terrible idea. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, if there's a problem that needs to be addressed, reconciling without addressing the problem is one of the worst things I think that we can do, because it's a resentment one. It's going to build up to resentment. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, and it's going to reissue. And then if we don't deal with emotions and deal with problems as they come up, then inevitably those things turn into us losing our mind. I'm
Our
going to say
grip
mind.
on reality.
Yeah, we blow our top, and then we sound like a crazy person because we're like, you did this and that 6 months ago, and then 2 months ago, and then it's like, what is wrong with you, bro? I literally I asked you if you had some sugar I could borrow, okay? But I mean, whatever it might be, we end up blowing our top at that last moment. So I know for me, if I have a problem that's irreconcilable, like is in like something not irreconcilable, something needs to be addressed in order for this to move forward. That's why I say check your emotion.
Sure.
Deal with your emotions first, because I can come to you. Let's say, Christian, you were speaking to me in a manner at the office that I did not find okay. Okay.
all of everything.
Okay. Let's pretend that actually bothered me. And
if you were an external person of your office, you'd be like, there's definitely lawsuits in order here. Like, what is happening?
Yeah, we're like really good friends, so that helps. But coworkers.
Yeah. Acquaintances.
Right. Yeah. I know you from somewhere.
Yeah.
But anyway, so if I was feeling that way, I could bring it to you with my emotions. I'm angry, I'm frustrated, and I say, Christian, the way you've been talking to me, that's not going to fly. That's not okay. I'm an employee. I deserve to be treated with respect. You will treat me that way.
No, I won't.
Yeah. Well, but then that promotes defensiveness because I'm coming at you.
Sure.
You need to change this. I'm pissed. You can tell I'm pissed.
Oh, he's using pain path language. You and I statements.
Yes, but basically,
yeah. I like where you're coming from. Keep going. Keep going.
I could reconcile my emotions. I could decide, okay, I'm angry about this. Let's process through that. Let's deal with my negative emotions that I'm feeling about this. And then I can come to you and say, listen, Christian, this is the conversations that we've been having lately, and this is how I'm feeling about them.
Sure.
These are the way they're making me feel, and I do not think this is appropriate. And I ask that you would treat me with respect inside of the office, like you would treat the other employees. And moving forward, I would ask that this does not.
That's the problem, is I treat all my employees that way. Yeah.
I get treated worse.
Yeah. But all the employees, they're unsure. Always keep them questioning. It's my credo. Is like, I don't know if he's being serious. Like, yeah, neither do I.
Is there really a kennel in the office?
Yeah, I want my employees kind of darting looks at each other and like, is he serious? I'm not sure what's happening here.
Yeah. But I think that's such a crucial difference. Is like the problem is still addressed. It's addressed in a healthy manner, and it doesn't promote the defensiveness that attacking does.
I Well, first off, you're 100% right. I could not agree more, honestly. And the difficulty, I mean, and maybe this is me making excuses. I don't know. The difficulty in these specific situations is always the power dynamic is always, I'm talking in broad terms in relation to my specific situation.
Right.
Is the power dynamics is weird. The other, the other things that are tied in with it are weird because it's not just one static thing. There's a lot of things that are contingent inside of those different relationships that are like, well, you do that, it might be an unfortunate side effect. Like, there's, and,
Right.
The other part of that is the instability of the other peoples of, they struggle with stability themselves. So it's one of the, and I don't know. I agree that like, I'm too crispy. Once again, starting to where we had in the beginning of the conversation is I'm too crispy to have some of those conversations right now.
When like you triple fry the fries, that's pretty much where he's at.
Where it's just
they
like
start to crumble.
Yeah, you're just not even clear. It's like, is this a potato anymore, or what is this?
Is this soil?
Yeah, he knocks it. You could stop a mugging with it. But no, I first it's like, okay, I have to unpack my emotion, in a healthy way, and not approach the aforementioned individuals with any form of like, you did this and you did that and all that kind of stuff. The second thing that is constant, like I want to address, because this, I do believe this is a character trait 100%. And I could bring my wife in here, baby and all, and she'd look you dead in the eye and say, oh yeah, this is definitely a character flaw. Like he does this too often. And that is the incessant need to double down, the incessant need to like, not only am I not going to deal with like, I'll deal with this basically by taking over. By making it so that it's like, you're in my world now. Like, well, welcome to it. It's order, order out of chaos. Right. What do you think about that? And, that's how this podcast started. Right. So a lot of things like this is, I have a lot of ambition, but that ambition comes at the sacrifice of sleep a lot of the time, which I don't know if you've been listening to the podcast lately, but that's what I'm struggling with.
Right.
So what is your thoughts on that? Oh, guru of the ages.
Well, I'd say that is a really good rationalization. First of all, we'll start with that.
Oh, I said it was, this might just be an excuse. I said, the one thing, and Hunter will tell you, you talk to me, you'll not only know where I'm coming from, but it's like, no, I told you what the issue was. Like, now what? Like, I told you what the problems were. I'm looking for answers that are not like, well, maybe you have some underlying or hidden. It's like, no, all motives are on the table. Right. Like, I told you everything. Right.
It's not hidden. Okay.
Yeah. Like, I'm not trying to hide anything back from you. It's like, no. I'm being very honest with you right now. This is what insanity and burning out like a supernova looks like, is like, okay, somebody who's honest and driven, but at the same time is like, I'm not really crying for those of you who are listening to the podcast. You're like, what in the world's happening?
And he just broke down.
Cut the tape.
So, what do we preach, man? On that subject,
the gospel,
you know,
preaching about that Jesus, sir.
Yeah. So I guess when I feel like on that situation, that's probably the best advice I can give, because that's how I would deal with it. Like, I'm not a therapist in no way, shape, or form. Well, am I a therapist? Nor will I probably ever be a therapist, and I'm okay with that. But all I can give you is how. But
if I was,
but if I was, no, that's how you get in legal trouble.
Yeah, that's how you get in a lot of trouble. Our favorite, like a lot of, is the conjecture, right. Like hypothetically,
right?
I told somebody to do that today, and here's the thing. Like, we go into hypothetical situations and we use super abstractions like I have in this. Throughout this, you can't tell me what I've been frustrated about. You can't tell me anything really about my situation, because you're like, what are you talking about? But it's like the handful of people that are around that generally know the situations, they can identify exact, like, that's what he's talking about. That's who he's talking about. That's right. What's going on. That's what's going on. So
anyway, so hypothetically, that rationale, if I was a doctor, could be this.
If I was,
yeah.
Don't quote me.
Right.
Wink, wink.
Yeah. And now you have a pending lawsuit.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not a therapist. So, the only advice I can give you is basically what I've done to deal with those situations when I've ran across them. And like, I run across situations all the time, and that's just how the best way I found to deal with it. Power dynamic, in my opinion, is like, if something is so bad to where it's really bothering my serenity is more important than any relationship in my life. And that probably be different for you, because I'm not married. I don't have a kid.
It's not with my wife or my child, by the way. Let me be clear about that.
Yeah, but still. So for me, none of my other relationships in my life are worth sacrificing my happiness in no way, shape, or form. So for me, I don't really care if there's a weird dynamic and said effects may have fallout. That's part of boundary management. It's like, I will set that boundary because that's what I need to do in order to be okay with what's going on. And quite frankly, I don't really care what fallout there is from that. As long as it is rational, as long as it is set within the parameters of what I feel okay to do, then that is okay. As long as I'm setting them within reasonable standards. Because boundaries are for me. They're not boundaries on you. They're boundaries for me. They're saying don't cross this line not because like you can't cross this line, because I don't want you to cross this line.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely.
The other thing, I forgot what the other thing I wanted to touch on from what we were talking about.
Didn't ask.
Yeah, no, you did. You said something about something that brought up something else. But anyways.
Well, no, some more than likely what you were going to address is my incessant need to like, I will take control.
Yeah.
Like, you will not defeat me.
Oh yeah.
I will crumble your kingdom
when
around
you're
you.
getting burnout from work, coping mechanisms like taking on more work is probably not a great solution.
Yeah, fair point. Well, and that's the weird, I think we've talked about this before. Maybe not on the podcast. We've definitely talked about it, where it's just like, what's the balance? Because it's like, this is my passion. What we're doing right now, doing this podcast, this is passion. There's work associated with it though.
Right.
Like, we don't just get to, record this and then it'd be done. Like, it has to be edited. Like, you don't hear all the crazy stuff that we say when the mic is off. Y'all don't hear the crazy stuff that we say in between breaths. And we're like, cut it. We can't say that. We can't say that. We don't do that often. Yes, we do. But no, but
you got to cut that part out.
Yeah, I got to cut that part out. No, but this is a passion and I love doing this. And this is so cool. And this is so fun. At the same time, congratulations, by the way, on 500 followers. I forgot to tell you that.
Congratulations to you on 500 followers.
Yeah. So, but, it does take work. And then, even in the midst of us talking about this thing, it's like I presented, and usually this is how I present things to Hunter now. And he'll tell you, I do this all the time. So you're going to hate me for this, but
yeah, literally everything in the last 3 months has been, you're going to hate me, but you're doing this. And I'm like, you're not wrong about the first part of what you said.
You'll like this pill, just swallow it.
Right.
But we probably shouldn't say that on an addiction cast.
What?
Addiction. You'll like this pill, just swallow it.
Don't take random pills from strangers.
Do that. Once again, we're not doctors. I don't know if that equates to that situation at all. But with the thing I was talking to you about, it's like, that's a passion project too. And that's something that's like, that could have long reaching ramifications. It could have long reaching, the weird position that I find myself in, you in, it's like, okay, this podcast, this is us. This is ours. This isn't like this. Other people don't have input on necessarily what is happening here, and we've had suggestions of like, you might want this person, or, hey, this doctor really wants to get on there or whatever. And it's like, cool, awesome.
Right.
But ultimately that's up to us.
Right.
Like, do we want them on or do we? And you and I discuss every person that's coming on. Like, hey, this is, I even called him the other day. I'm like, hey, bud, how's it going? So I'm going to have a person on. And you're like, okay, great. That's good. That's good stuff. But it's like, I feel hesitant if I commit to having somebody on without consulting with you or something like that. And in this situation, it's like,
as a matter of fact, the last person he had on without consulting me, the conversation started, hey, you're going to hate me, but we're doing this part. I'm like, funny how that works.
Yeah. But the ultimately, like, the thing that I'm talking about, it's like, would it cost more work? Yes. Would it be a passion project? And do I think as a part of it, it can actually help me? Because it's like, I'd be focused in on something. I'd be focused in on something that's near and dear to my heart. And I'd be focused on something that it's like, what does it look like? But then there's the gamble. Okay, I pour all this effort into it to only be cast aside. But if I pour all this effort into it and be like, here's the plan, I ultimately think there'd be a lot of people. And once again, I'm speaking in broad terms, but there'd be a lot of people that look at it and say, we're doing it. We're on board.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just talking out the side of my face, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. And there's a lot to it. I think the biggest thing that I would take away from all this, is that serenity and peace needs to come before everything else. You know what I'm saying? Like, a happiness, like, obviously both of us are in the faith. So like, we're going to say our faith becomes before everything, but like, ultimately the faith is what gives us that, but whatever, I don't know. But I think like my happiness, like I honestly, if this podcast even came between me and feeling serenity, and I became miserable because of this podcast, I would stop this podcast.
Well, I'll play him that later on. It's like, yeah, but
I mean, really, I mean, if this came to that point, I would stop this. I had the same conversation with my sister. And that was, we were talking about, she drinks from time to time, you know, and she asked me like, does this bother you? Is this a problem? And I said, if this bothered me, I would address it with you. And she's like, well, I don't want you to not address it and then end up, you know, having these urges and not talking about it. I'm like, anything that brings me to that point is going to be dealt with far before I relapse.
Yes.
Or far before I lose my peace and serenity, because my most important things are being happy, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like being happy, being in recovery, having a good life. I will address anything and everything before that point. And I feel like that's just really important. So like really everything else in my life, like if I had to quit my job because it caused me a lack of peace and serenity, I know you're my boss, so it's kind of weird for me to say this.
Yep.
I would quit my job.
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt in my mind. I would make sure that was the right decision. Just like before, when it was that, it wasn't really my job. It was because I was doing nothing else to maintain my recovery.
Sure.
But like, if that honestly was what it was, I would drop that, because like ultimately in my life, my job is not what's going to bring me to a state of fulfillment. My podcasting is not what's going to bring me to a state of fulfillment. This gives me a purpose to strive after. And I love doing this stuff. And I feel like I'll continue to love this for the rest of my life. But ultimately, living a happy, prolonged life and helping other people and doing that sort of stuff, that's what brings me fulfillment ultimately in my life.
Yeah.
So I don't want to get to the end of my life and be like, man, I should have quit that job.
Sure.
Or man,
Dude,
I should have.
yeah, that's a very, very, very fair point. I think that's a really important perspective that I needed. I mean, everything that we're talking about isn't hypotheticals. You know, we're not talking today in this meditation. We weren't sure what we were going to talk about today, which is like, that's most meditations that we start talking about. We tried doing the script and we really liked the script and it was good. And then like we started doing this kind of stuff. And it's like, I think ultimately we end up talking about real things, because when we have kind of the script-ish thing, like we talk about real things, but it feels
forced.
Yeah, almost. It feels forced, not disingenuous, but forced. I think that's a much better word.
Like the conversation is genuine. Yeah. But it's like the prompted conversation is almost less natural. You know?
Yeah. And today it's like, I mean, I will be the first one to tell you, like, I am feeling crispy. I'm feeling like good, great, oogly moogly. Like, and I think I'm a perfect and shining example of, there's a lot of unbelievably positive things going on. And I can't tell you how fortunate by the grace of God I am to not only have the opportunities and privileges in my life, but to have my family in my life and to have the friends that I have in my life. With that being said, that does not mean that I don't get overwhelmed. That does not mean that there aren't things in my life that I'm like, great, oogly moogly. You know, I hear so many people that kind of look at my situation or look at some of the situations that are similar to mine, and they look and like, what do they have anything to be whatever for? You know, if I had what they had, I'd be happy all the time. It's like, no, you wouldn't.
Right.
Like, because guess what? Work is still work.
There's no happy all the time anyways, man. Like, get out of here. That's why, honestly, like, I feel like it's what makes this so genuine to me. I've noticed this through our podcasting. Like, I'm sure notice coming back, if you just listen to Wednesdays, you're like, man, these guys are bipolar.
Yep.
But really it's like, that is a testament to the truth of life. And that is ebbs and flows, man. Like, you're going through a period where you're feeling burnt out, and I'm sure you're going to come out of that period. By the way, what I was going to say earlier is like, what do you tell your recovery coaches when they're feeling burnout? I'm just going to leave it at that, because you know the answer.
Sneaky snake.
Self-care.
Self-care is no, I know.
And this is a job.
Mm-hmm.
This is a job.
This is a job. Well, and this is the thing, is like, it has nothing to do, because I guess the ultimately the couple of different things are what I'm frustrated about. And, you know, this isn't about the job. It's about something else.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about something that it's like, it's near and dear to my heart that I feel like that God has pulled me into.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's like, do I let, you know, am I being self-righteous? Am I being in a place where, you know, there needs to be reconciliation or whatever it might be? And then on top of that, my other job, yeah, I look at it just as a job, but it's like I have a lot of people that rely on me.
Well, to you, it's almost more than a job at this point where you're at in that career. You're not like a peer recovery coach at this point. You're a GM of a company.
Yeah, that it's like this is, obviously it's a lifeblood, but it's like this. I have people that I care for. I have people that I need to make sure that they're attended to. I have people that, like, when they have grievances. I mean, we talked earlier today, and I've had other recoveries that have had grievances that are like, hey, this is what's going on. It's like, I have to be the mitigator. I have to be the mediator of what is going on in individuals. And I got to talk to them and have that conversation of like, here's what's going on. I want you to, like, I've had conversations, yada, yada, yada. This is what needs to happen next. And it's difficult, but it's like, okay, yeah, it is a job. You're right. I mean, ultimately it is a job.
All in all. So yeah, it's like, I mean, as far as the job piece goes, like you told everyone else, man, like, stuff leaves at the door.
Yeah.
Like that, like when I took that, like that stress home, I didn't take the clients home with me, or like metaphorically speaking, I didn't take the case home with me. I wasn't like thinking about this instance, but I took that stress and that frustration that I felt that day. I took that home with me.
Sure.
And it sure as heck, it went out towards someone who didn't deserve it. It fled into my personal life. So that's the reality of this field, man. Is like, if you're not dealing with this stuff at work and leaving it at work with the emotions behind it, like if I'm feeling frustrated, I try to make it a point to talk to somebody at my job about how I'm feeling before I leave.
Yes.
So like someone like Sean, someone like you, Dr. Smith, I don't care who it is. If I'm feeling frustrated, I'm going to talk about it there, because I don't want to talk about it when I get off.
Well, and once again, my particular thing doesn't strand out of work.
Right.
I mean, it's a little bit different, but it is, I mean, the message is well received. It's like, there does get to a point, I have to sit back. Cause here's the other thing too. And you do this too, and you shouldn't do this, but you do this too, which is, we work through lunch. We end up, we don't eat when the amount of food we're supposed to be eating. We end up, like, oh, I'll eat later. And then we all of a sudden look at the clock and be like, I haven't eaten anything in like 14 hours and I've been functioning off of caffeine and rage.
Right.
Like this is, I mean,
I did have 3 leftover almonds that I found on my floor.
I think they were almonds at least. No, but that's, I mean, because that's, I think also a portion of it is like, we're back in the gym. We're trying, I'm working out, but it's like, I haven't been able to really get fully back in the gym in a couple weeks. Why? Got a baby and he comes first. And it's like, I'll gladly sacrifice any hour of sleep working out for him so that he can, so that he can feel okay. So that, my lovely wife, his mother, can feel okay. So that they feel stable and they feel safe. But man, O'Malley, it's like, I have to get focused. I got to do something. I don't care. I use the excuse, but if I'm not at the gym, then I can't work out. It's like, do some push-ups, idiot. Run in place. I don't care. Squat with the baby.
You make decent money. Go buy a treadmill.
Well, okay. First off, don't be telling people about how much money.
I'm just saying, I don't want to hear your justification.
No, fair enough. I looked at treadmills the other day. So you actually got it for a point. Maybe that's, the divine spirit, the external voice matching the internal. Right. Like, buy a treadmill, you dunce.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. What I do have to say is, like, life goes on. I know I'm going to be okay. I have friends. I even feel better in the midst of this conversation. I feel better because it's like, okay, things are alleviated. I get stressed, I think, a lot of the times because I've had too many people in my life that have overcommitted and underdelivered. I've had too many representations of that in my life where people have overcommitted and time again underdelivered. And it's like, I made that promise to myself that I will never do that. I used to do that all the time. I refuse to do that now, where it's like, if I promise something, it's going to happen. Or if I promise something, like, I will sacrifice the sleep, I will sacrifice the energy, I will sacrifice the capital, I will sacrifice whatever it needs to you. When I say that I'm going to do something, I throw all of me behind it, everything that I own, everything behind it, so that I can make sure it gets done. And I'm having to take a break and realizing, man, like, I've committed to a lot of things, and a lot of those things are going to be alleviated next week. I don't have a whole lot going on. And then there's a lot going on for like 2 weeks. It's an absolute torrential hurricane.
Right. RCA and all that.
We have Recovery Coach Academy, ethics, and assert, which means that, like, not only do we have to do all of our normally scheduled work, but also we have, 5-6 hours. 30-hour class in the midst of 5 days that have to be knocked out. And then another 2.5 days worth of education, and then all that other stuff. So after that, though, break time. You're going to be going on break for a couple of weeks. I think I'm just going to get some
Well, I think
rest.
I have another RCA before my vacation.
We're not sure.
Yeah,
We're looking. We haven't quite heard anything yet. But if that is the case, but then, just relax. My goal is like April for sure. Just chilling out and relaxing.
For sure, man. And that's so important. Like, I mean, I have enough faith in you. I've seen you at these points before, and I know for you, like it is like you're not going anywhere. This isn't Christian's gonna lose his cool. It's like I know you can work through it, so it's a matter of doing that.
Well, the dangerous is the Christian the switch flips and I become sociopathic. Like I am numb to the world.
Yeah,
nothing will affect me.
Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. Right?
Is there any therapist out here? Because
if anybody's listening,
cell phone number is
well, if you're listening, no, man, I feel better in the midst of it. I deal with the frustration strands out of personal relationship dynamics that are very difficult to navigate. They're not something that it's easily ripped off. It's not something that, because that's the other thing too, that I hear a lot of people say, well, just do this. And it's just like, it's comments like that tell me that you're either not listening or you haven't thought this well out, because you can't just do things like that. You have to balance relationships. You have to understand, like, if I pull this out from under me, what are going to be the negative consequences that stream through my life, through my wife's life, through my family's life, through my work life, through all my friends, all my family. I can't just do that.
Do it anyways.
Right.
I want to see it.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I feel a lot better. I feel like,
hey, you know what's going to make you feel even better?
Food.
No, in a month, less than a month, in no time at all, fishing is going to be awesome.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. We have a little pond behind our house that there's a lot of just panfish. You have it's catch and release, but it is what it is. It's fun.
Well, that's not even cool. If I'm catching it, it's going in the frying pan. That's why they call it panfish.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I'm super excited. That's honestly like my silver lining through like this feeling of like, I've been working a lot. I've been doing a lot, and like my release date is like the water will be ice free soon. Yeah. Like the fish will be rising to the surface.
It's coming. No, I am excited to go fishing, dude. I'm excited to get back out on the lake and hang out and just chill. I'm excited for COVID to be over. Yeah. I'm so excited. No, but I'm the one thing that I do love about summer is just getting out there, getting out on the lake, just being quiet. We have 7-hour-long conversations. Yeah. Then with large gaps of just silence, just fishing.
Right.
I mean, that I'm so ready for that. But other than that, man, you got anything else for today?
I think that's it, man.
All right. Well, as always, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in and listening to my sob story for an hour, or about an hour. Every Monday we do science education. Every Wednesday we do meditations, and every Friday we do interviews. This next interview Friday, I believe, I want to say it's going to be James Saylor. James Saylor is part of our. Is it? No, it would be. No, it's going to be Tory Worth. Tory Worth is he is awesome guy, great he's a great guy from up north in Michigan. He has his own program out there. Been a long-term recovery guy. Really interesting guy because he's had he got into recovery at 17. He's been in recovery for, I think, 25 years or something.
That's pretty cool.
It's awesome. So It's awesome to see somebody that has that perspective. You don't see a lot of those, but got in recovery very early on, stayed in recovery. So definitely worth listening to. Plus, he gives us some really cool insight, information and insight on some things related to recoveries in the community and all that kind of stuff. But other than that, have a good one.
Yeah.
Get back on there. No question. So I think this week we're going to be talking to James Saylor. James Saylor, who is he is one of the staff members over Lifeboat Addiction Recovery Services. You heard from Mr. Nick DeMont earlier this month, but this next week, we're starting next month. You'll be listening to Nick DeMont, and please tune in. We're doing the second part of motivational interviewing next week, but we are starting our ACEs training, which I'm super excited for, which is Adverse Childhood Experiences with Dr. Bob Powell. So stay tuned for that. Peace.